It was in 1985. Throughout my adult life, I became interested in spirituality and metaphysics outside the world of religion. At the same time, I was a businessman and owned a couple of restaurants in Vancouver. And in 1985, I began to have some what I would call metaphysical experiences. And that began with hearing the audible voice of one word, and that word was Akasha. And it would generally happen in the later part of the evening, and I would hear it as if someone was whispering on my left side, Akasha, Akasha. And this went on for a couple of minutes over a period of a couple of weeks. And then that voice began to speak. I am Akasha. And I asked the voice, well, I can hear you, but I cannot see you. And she said, well, it is best that it just be that way for now. Akasha began teaching me that I would find very little spiritual comfort in studying any of the religions, and that I was correct in setting aside religious studies and seeking spiritual studies. And so she came to help me, support me in those spiritual studies, began teaching me the nature of consciousness, that every person has a spiritual side that has not been disclosed, that has not been tapped into, because nothing in the world supports a person or teaches a person how to connect with their spiritual side. So a lot of that information. The next area was teaching me about multidimensionality, and teaching me that every system of worlds has a number, and every planet has a number of dimensions. And in those dimensions, and especially in the higher dimensions, there are beings who live, who exist, who are more perfect in nature than human beings. And then she would give me examples that there are dimensions where angels live, and there are dimensions where ascended masters live. So again, just to track this timeline, Akasha made contact with me in 1985.
Yes.
And in 1987, Akasha said to me, there's another one with me, and his name is a son. And you'll be working very closely with him, and he will actually be a great part of taking over your training for future work that we wish to do with you. Akasha and a son, the second being that started coming to me, indicated that I perhaps could start holding meditation groups and start sharing some of the teachings that they were giving me. So I started some meditation groups between 1987 and 1994. In those 7 years, I had about 4 meditation groups in Vancouver in different areas, and one in Victoria. And as that passed from the 1980s into the early years of the 1990s, then something new began to happen at the meditation groups. And that was initiated by an occurrence that took place in Vancouver in the meditation group, in which in the 20-minute deep meditation towards the end, unknown to me, I fell asleep. And there was about 25 of us in a living room. And when I woke up, the people in the living room were looking at me, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, I fell asleep. How long were we meditating? And the homeowner of where we were said to me, we haven't been meditating. You weren't sleeping. This being came through you and spoke through you, and called herself Akasha and introduced herself to us. You give your divine consciousness the opportunity to continue the grand process of transformation. that must occur in days ahead. The body resting in the consciousness of God, let us turn within. Let us catch a feeling that we are turning inwards inside our consciousness, knowing that the presence of God, the indwelling presence, the mystical I, the Christ, abides at the very center of our consciousness. Let us journey into that place, and let us know that in that place is the most sacred of silence. It is that silence that can bind you to the great inner self, the God of your being. Allow the rapture of the silence to rise up and nurture you and cradle you and hold you. Relax, relax in the internal silence of your soul.